Let the people hear that voice.
Damn, when you hear that name.
It was a proud moment for the Asian culture.
I just looked in the mirror and I accepted myself.
Yes. Please, I beg you, cut it out. Welcome to Britasia TV's Behind the Music. I'm excited to have this artist, producer on the show. He's had millions of views on his records that he's produced, as well as having countless #1 records on iTunes and BBC Asia Network chart. And he's one of my favorite vocalists. VEE, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you, bro, man. Thank you for having me, man.
When I said you're one of my favorite vocalists, it's because you are, bro. Like your voice is just incredible. Like the way you sing, like the way you, just your riffs, everything, you know.
Thank you. You're one of my favorite singers, man. I think away from what you're doing now, you know, people should pay attention, and well, they do pay attention. But you know, the youngsters in our generation, man, you're one of my favorite vocalists, man. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. How's it been like for you during lockdown? So what you've been up to? I know you just bought a house for your mum and dad. Wow, congrats.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's, you know what it is. I tell everybody, Jay, that for me because I come from a musical family, you know, for everybody that's watching, and for us, you know, away from the business, music has always been, you know, something we took quite seriously. It's like a way of life. You know, our ancestors, you know, sung spiritually. You know, we would say Shabbat Kirtan, you know, like they sang spiritually. And so we naturally growing up, music was always in the house. So we took it quite seriously. So, we've always been kind of introverts in the sense of always been indoors practicing. So we're kind of used to it, and then becoming, you know, obviously getting into the music business and then recording, writing, you're constantly in the studio for hours and hours on end. So we're used to it. So when we came into lockdown, for me, it wasn't anything different. You know, I'm in the studio 24 hours anyway, you know, unless I'm going out or got to be somewhere, I'm in my studio, man. So it wasn't that different. The only thing that was different, bro, was not being able to go certain places, like everything restricted, like you can't, you know, me being back in the country, not being able to go out into London or not going shopping or not going anything like that. So that's the only thing different. Apart from that, everything else was cool for me.
So talking about, you know, your musical, you know, family, like your brothers, like Hunters, Ishers, like they are like musical, like geniuses. They're vocally, you know, how have your brothers like helped your journey? Like they've helped me massively, man. You know, obviously being the youngest, I'm the youngest of 4 brothers, and they all do music. H being the eldest, I spent a lot more time with him while my 2 middle brothers got sent to India back in the early 90s to study classical music, like classical music. And, you know, growing up and having your brothers, you know, one being able to, you know, one might be in one room singing, one might be in another room holding a guitar, one might be playing a tabla, you know, practicing. And I mean, not just picking up an instrument and just banging a few notes, I mean, actually practicing for 2-3 hours on end, sitting there practicing, rehearsing, you know, and being a youngster and naturally, you know, running around in every room and seeing what's going on, you kind of, you know, subconsciously you pick things up. So they was a massive, massive influence to me. I still learn off them, you know, to this day. And like how's the training, like, you know, like the scale and you know, the scale of vocal like helped your music? Because I know massively, because we have a mutual friend, and I remember speaking to you when I was like 14. Yeah. And she told me, because she's been around you, and she's like, you wake up at 5 a.m, you do all the rags and everything. I'm wow, like you really know your vocal everything. Like, how is that? Like,
we would get up like 4 or 5 in the morning and practice for like an hour, and then go back to sleep. You know, I had to do that anyway. Like as a kid, my dad would wake me up before school, make me practice, and then go school, come back, practice, and then like my dad used to obviously, you know, test us. And credit to them, man. He'd randomly wake me up in the middle of the night, call me down, and he'd say, "You want to be a singer and you want to be an artist? Sing." Like this could be at 2 in the morning, bro. Wow. You know, you're talking. Wow. You know, you're talking. I might have been 7 years old, 6 years old. Call me down, wake me up out of my sleep. Because the best time to test an artist or an athlete is when they're half asleep. Half of your body's telling you go back to sleep, and the other half is saying, "No, I really want it." And I say this to a lot of artists, anybody kind of in any profession, anybody trying to go into something, I always ask them, like, do you really want it? And how bad do you want it? Because when you kind of get into a habit of doing something every day, it becomes a habit. And sometimes you lose the main focus of it. And you have to really be honest with yourself and say, look, I'm going to go back to music. Now, music, you know, if they do music, you have to really ask yourself, is this a hobby or is this something that I want to do as a career? And if it is something you want to do as a career, then you have to be willing to lose sleep. You have to be willing to go hungry. You know, I've done, anybody that knows me will tell you, like, you know, I've slept on floors. You know, I've gone days and days with not sleeping, 36 hours. I remember I'd done a studio session. I didn't sleep. You know, I've had to sleep on chairs, stairs, wherever. You'll know what I mean because you're an artist. But, you know, I've done these things. You know, I had my studio in an industrial estate for like 2 years when I was in Ealing Studios. I did not leave that place for a whole year and a half. I slept in my studio, went to the gym, came back, stayed in my studio all day and night, and I used to teach. And a lot of this music that you heard now, I was doing it when I was there. But I didn't have to do that. That's the sacrifice I've done for music. And everybody has their own story. Everyone has their own sacrifices, but that's because this is the path that I had chosen, and I feel that was chosen for me. So that's why I put that in. So going back to what I'm saying, like, if somebody wants to do this, I always say to them, make sure that you can learn to draw the line between a profession and a hobby. If it's a hobby, go and treat it as a hobby, but don't not work, don't, not earn your living and stuff like that. Don't get the two confused, if you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Sorry about the long explanation, man, because
no.
music's deep, man.
So to hear that.
I can't explain it in a few lines, man.
Yeah. No, it's inspiring to hear that you got so much support from your parents, like
your
dad
man.
waking you up. Like
they we come from a normal family, bro. Sorry to cut you off. We come from a normal family. My parents worked, and it's quite, it's not really known amongst Asians, because we have the stereotypical thing of, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should be X, Y, Z, and and credit to parents that who want to push their kids into that because they only want the best for you. But our parents, they was like, you're going to do this because this is something you're gifted, and we don't ever want you to turn around ever and say to us, you never let us pursue our dreams. So my parents worked, and they supported all of us brothers, and they never let us work a 9 to 5. They said, you're going to do your work, but you have to work hard. Like, again, while we had to do all the hours of practicing, my brothers used to practice 14 hours in India, both of them, and I could tell you easily, I've sat there and practiced for 8 hours a day. I've done it. But they pushed us. If you're going to work, then you better put shifts into it and show us that you're really serious about it. And they worked so that we didn't have to. And obviously now, again, mentioning the thing like, gifting my parents a house, that was something that was a childhood dream of mine. I was like, I always want to buy my parents a house, being able to hand them a pair of keys. Before I do anything, that's one thing I want to do. And, God willingly, man, I got to do that this year.
Your story there is just honestly so beautiful to hear. Like,
thanks, bro. Thank you.
Having that support from your parents and then giving them something back, like, thank you. Like, what I mean? Like, you're saying thank you to your parents. Like, it's,
for me, man, that meant, and I mean that from my gut, like, that for me was everything, man. Like, I've been so blessed to, even like, for the people that, know me or don't know me, I've been very, very blessed. For those that know me, I've been very blessed, and I've sat in a lot of places with a lot of people, or I've been involved in a lot of people's careers, or, I've been a part of certain records. I may have taught somebody at some point in their life, or given, helped somebody. And it's crazy, man. I've been so blessed to be around certain things and have seen certain things. But for me, man, I've always said the number one thing is everything doesn't mean anything unless I can do that one thing for me. Everyone has their goals and everyone has their things, but for me, that was my number one thing that I wanted to tick off my list, and I've done it this year.
Can we talk about like your early singing career? Like,
of course.
You dropped records early on. I remember these songs. You shot a video, wasn't it, in LA?
Take You Home. Yeah.
Yeah, what a record. Yeah. That time you were focused just on, to be a vocalist, right? An artist.
Yeah. My story is a funny one, man. For those that know me, like, a lot of people now might know me as just VEE as a producer. A lot of people don't know I always say this, man, I'm a singer first and I'm a producer secondary. Production came in after, but singing and songwriting has always been my number one forte, and it always will be. So I was working with the Cray Twins. Big up to the Cray Twins as well. I've done a lot of work with them. We experienced a lot of crazy things together, man. We got to work with DMX, Ray J, Black Eyed Peas, True Thirds when she was signed to Dr. Dre. Got to work on records for Elephant Man, Mr. Vegas. So many people, man. So many people in that journey, man. I met Rich Harrison just after he produced Beyonce's Crazy in Love. And I remember because when I went to LA, I was there for 4 years, but when I went to LA, I remember I used to be the Asian kid who used to sit in the corner while, people used to come in the studio, and I used to just be observing everything, man, like a sponge. Whoever's coming in, just watching them quietly, what they're doing. And then every now and then somebody would be like, what does he do? And then the guys would be like, oh, him, he's a singer. And then they'd be like, sing. And then I'd end up singing, and then they showed me mad love in America. I remember Rich Harrison said, he goes, I don't know whether to kill him or sign him. And that was just after he'd done Beyonce's record, man, Crazy in Love.
Wow.
So for me, that was a big compliment. But I got to see a lot of things in LA, and I came out as a singer-songwriter. And then eventually, as everyone has their stories, we parted ways, and, we didn't talk for a long time. And I ended up going into production. And then it's mad because after about 10 years, we've kind of reconnected. And, after, we're all on different career paths at the moment, but, we all reconnected in a good way. And, yeah, man, so I started production after that. But singing and songwriting is my main thing. And I'm going to drop records. People always say to me, like, when you're dropping records, I've got so many records to drop. But I think everything's about timing.
People know you as a producer,
Yeah.
and people need to know you as a vocalist and a singer-songwriter, because you just, honestly, your voice is just incredible.
Thank
honestly,
you so much.
I want people to go back and even listen to your early stuff because you can really sing. Going back to the time in LA, how was that for you? Because you were quite young then, so to be around all these...
I was young, man. I was, I think I turned 18. I just turned 35 now, and that's my real industry age. That's no me putting, I don't even know that, putting 4 years back and all. I'm 30 years old. I've been recording since I was 8 years old professionally.
Wow.
So I started recording at the age of 8. I mean, being taken to the studio and knowing that you have to get this song done because the clock's ticking and you have to pay for it. It wasn't like back in the days where everyone has a studio at home. And I did that every holiday I had to the age of 16 before I moved with my brother to Birmingham. I had to be in a recording studio while other kids were spending 6 weeks, Easter, all the holidays, Christmas. I was in a recording studio in Birmingham with people twice my age, seeing all sorts of things and recording. And, back in the days, it used to be, excuse me, reel to reel. So you couldn't get it wrong. There was no cut, paste, this, that, and the other. You better know your song. Plus, as a kid, growing up, I still hold the same respect for my older brother hunters. But then, there's always that, you were scared of them. So I was always like, I better make sure I know. I used to practice my song so much, I'd know my song backwards. But I couldn't sing my song backwards, word for word, backwards. That's how much I used to practice. That's how serious I took it. So again, going back to, was it America, right?
Yeah. Does it feel like, when you remember that time? I'm just saying, like, being around all these amazing, accomplished, artists, producers, like, what was that like for you?
It was amazing, man. It was a humbling experience. But I kind of, luckily I'd been, again, that's why I mentioned the studio stuff. I'd kind of been around the studio environment all my life and seeing, things that my brother had been doing. I saw him make, work on big successful projects in the Asian side as well from a very young age. So I kind of learned how you take these things in and you kind of don't let them get to your head. You stay grounded, So when I was at the Grammys, man. I've been at the Grammys, all the Grammy parties. I've seen, so many people, man. So many people. Half the artists that I've been able to chill with or been in the studio with, I sometimes can't even remember. I worked with Ray J when he had just done One Wish. So I was working really close with Ray J. And I was just about to meet Brandy. And she sent a message for me through one of the dancers and Ray J's team that she wanted to meet me, and I ended up flying back to the UK. But I was meant to work with Brandy, almost worked with Snoop, so many people, man. Like, it's crazy. But it was just, you know what, it was a humbling experience, and it taught me a lot, and it kind of prepared me for my journey in India.
Right. And so then you were a singer-songwriter, and then you transitioned into a producer almost.
Yeah.
So were you always producing? When did you start producing? Like,
I started producing when I was working with the Cray Twins. For that, no, Jazz and Jazz, a great producer, Jazz especially. He's a great beat maker. And then what would happen is when I was writing with Jazz, mainly me and Jazz would be doing the writing. Because I could play a bit of keys. I come from a musical background, so and I had experience watching my brother, growing up, produce for me. So I had quite a bit of knowledge subconsciously. I picked up when I was in the studio. I'd just sit there watching my brother, like just on him, watching what he was doing, what he was telling the engineer. So I was picking all these things up. And when I started working with Jazz, it was more so I picked all these things up and I kind of applied that to what I was doing with them and their production. So, I'd be jumping on the keys, adding stuff to the tracks. And then naturally, I kind of molded my hand into production. And then how I shifted into the whole production thing when we kind of parted ways. It's the first time I'm ever talking about this, bro. I've never spoken about this ever.
Wow.
So the first time we parted ways, then what I did is I started producing for myself. I started writing records for myself. I felt like I didn't want nobody involved in what I was doing. I just wanted to be hands-on with my career myself. So I started producing for myself and started evolving, and it started getting better and better and better and better. And then what I started doing was I started producing for my brothers. And that's how the transition happened, basically.
wow, that's just crazy to know that you just wanted to produce yourself and do all that, and you really focused on that. What was the feeling? How come you wanted to just kind of produce and you didn't want anyone involved? Is it because you just wanted to have control of your music?
Yeah, I'm gonna be really open about this as well, and because I feel, especially musicians and artists that are going to be watching this, at some point everybody goes. You'd be very, very, very lucky, and in my kind of time being in, because again, like for people that don't know, they might just think, okay, V's been about for a few years. But the ones that really know that I grew up in the music industry. And I've been around for years. I've been here for ages. So the things that I kind of had seen, like I've never met anybody who hasn't been through a situation. We've all been through situations. So I went through a certain situation, and there's no one to blame. We all kind of felt different ways about different things, and it happens. And the best thing at that point was for me to start handling my own stuff, because I didn't want to be in a position where I blame the next person for my career, going wrong. So I kind of was like, what, if I'm hands on my own stuff, then I can only look at me to blame. If I make a wrong decision, that's on me. I can live with that, but I couldn't live with, giving my career and putting it into somebody's hands, and then them making a decision that's going to affect my life or kind of maybe hold me back and stuff like that. So it's better that I did it all myself until I could get to a position where I could give that responsibility to someone. So what I started doing is I started producing myself and writing songs for myself and progressing. And again, look, music is what paid my bills. So me being a producer, me being a teacher, is what paid my bills and essentially kept me, coming from a small town in Bedford, going to LA, living in LA now for 4 years, seeing all the high life, everything out there, coming back to England, and then coming back from Bedford and then getting myself back into London, and then supporting myself in London through music, and then, obviously working my way up. I did it all through production.
And then you then went to, obviously, Ealing. You mentioned it earlier. You had a studio there. That time must have been,
It's crazy.
Crazy time for you, And
crazy.
Can we talk a bit about that? How was that, like having your own studio there, having a bass? And I want to pick up on the fact that obviously there's a lot of producers that are out there right now that were based in that studio at the same time as you.
There's a lot of people that are mentored as well, man.
Right, and a lot of people know that. So
a lot of people are mentored as well at that point. And big up to ADP, Amish. Amish was really close to me as well. Like, he used to come and see me a lot when he came straight out of uni. So, we spent a lot of time together. And then he moved to Ealing and he told me to come to Ealing. I went to Ealing, and at that point, they thought I was just an Asian producer. And then when I got to Ealing, before you knew it, I was like running around the whole studio. In every room, someone would call me and be like, V, I need a hook. I'd be running in doing a hook for somebody. Someone would be like, V, can you hear this? I need a vibe on this. And I'd jump in, I'd be playing keys or something. Oh, V, can you lay down this? V, can you do, you know? So, and my room was like, I've always believed in good energy, right? And I've always tried to create a vibe anywhere I go, especially studio wise, man. Like, I remember once Akon's sister came into my studio, and she came with Bashi, Cash Stastic, and Louis Essien. And I didn't know it was Akon's sister at the time. She just came in, they come to dub something.
Yeah.
And she walked into my room and she was like, there's a really good energy in this room. It was only a small room. It was the one if you've been there, it was the first one on the right hand side. I think we might have missed each other a few times.
We did. I did come one time working with ADP, and then
upstairs. So I was downstairs, but I was in the gym. Yeah. I remember coming back. He was like, "Yo, you just missed Jernade." I was like, "Oh man, that's crazy." But I was there next door to Naughty Boy as well. So Naughty Boy was right on the next side of the building, next door to me. So he could hear what I'm doing. I could hear what he's doing. So it was mad, man. It was a great experience through there. You know, I made a lot of good friends, and I got to work with the whole UK hip hop scene from there. And I was still making Asian music there as well as English music. So I got to work with, I worked with a lot of the Sneak Bow, Ratlin, Krypton Conan, Scorcher, Squeaks, so many, man. Like, I can't even remember how many people I worked with, but practically the whole UK rap scene I'd worked with at that point.
How come you haven't released music? If I can ask you that, and I'll keep going back to that point. It was a reason, like you just wanted to just focus on it.
You know what? I felt, to be honest, man, I felt that timing was everything because I didn't want to mix both things up. Like, I didn't want to, I'm trying to be the producer and I'm trying to be the singer and I'm trying to, because I felt that I saw something happening in India and I felt like, you know what, I can really add to what's going on over there. I saw the shift in the UK Asian scene early. I saw it quite early. And I was like, I need to break into India. And again, Jay, like, being honest, man, I've been in Interscope. I've seen, people at Interscope trying to sign me in America. I've been sat with the head of RCA Records in London, and they wanted to sign me. These are all true stories, man. But were they ready to? And this is pre Jay Sean, by the way. So this is before Jay went and represented us and done what he did, and they weren't ready. They weren't ready to see, and they're still probably not ready to still see us in where we're supposed to be or give us our credit. There's a lot of people coming through, but we still got a long way to go before, we really kind of have our own identity in the mainstream. And I believe that. Like, and there's a lot of new artists coming through and they're doing well, but there's still, there's still a lot of work that we need to do. And I saw what was happening in India, the growth in India. And I was like, well, hang on. If I can go there and make noise there, and they're our own people, if they champion us and they follow us, you can go and do whatever you want. You can release any music anywhere because you got your own following. Same with the Latino community. They have all the Latino community follow them, so they can go and put out a record without the mainstream or not. They are the mainstream. And it's something Honey Singh Party said to me once when I was talking to him. I've done a lot of work with him as well. And when I was talking to him, and he said the same thing as you. Why haven't you released music? When I came to England in the early 2000s, I was watching you and your brothers when I started producing. And then I was like, this is the story. And, I want to get to India and then eventually push out and do my other stuff. And he goes to me, India's the mainstream, man. He goes, come out here, work here and push yourself here. And, from here, you can go anywhere. At least you got your loyal fan base. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I was working towards India in my production, and look, it's kind of God willingly worked perfect. Through that, I got to work with Pitbull, who I had already met back in 2005 at the Yin Yang Twins video shoot. I went with Spliff Star. For those that don't know, he's Busta Rhymes' right hand man from Flip Mode Squad. So I went with him. Me and the twins went with him to a Yin Yang Twins video shoot, and I met Pitbull there. And he was signed to Little John at that point. But people don't, obviously we never worked until years later and we done the record slowly. And then through that, off the back of that, there's so many big collabs happening. I don't want to talk about them yet, but there's so many. So it's
Wow.
kind of just the way I kind of
Yeah.
envisioned everything. Everything's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
happened that way.
And what's it like being in India compared to being in the UK and, you know, working with all the other artists that you have worked with? Like, is there a difference in, like, you know, the way artists are, the way they talk to you, the way they work in the studio? Have you seen the difference?
India has evolved so much. Like, if you had asked me back in 2009 or 2008, if you're going to be living in India, I would have told you, like, nah, never. I always visioned me living in America or living, you know, somewhere like that. But thinking I was going to go to India, bro, I did not expect that one. But I went with it, man. I didn't force anything. I just thought that's where my calling is. I'm going. And going back to your question, like, the difference out there, man, is they work really hard. They work really hard. I'm not saying nobody works hard here, but they're really knocking out songs every day. They're not messing about. They're very up to date with everything because of the internet. They're up to date with everything from fashion to genres to music to what's happening now. You know, they're really up to date. Whereas back in the days, we was the forefront. You know, in as in sounding fresh. You know, being, you know, having a different vibe. The UK was, you know, the forefront, and then over the last couple of years, man, since they got access to the internet properly, you know, they've really advanced, man. There's not anything that they really don't know. So I'm not found. That's the only thing I found different. Like, they're really on the ball out there.
Can you know, like, I keep telling you, you're like one of my favorite vocalists, bro. Like, would you sing something for me, like a riff or something, like, you know, let the people hear that voice?
Oh, God, man, I haven't sang in ages, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't sang in ages.
Not even a little riff.
What can I sing, man? Oh, man.
Sorry to put you on the spot, bro.
No, it's alright. Sing is not an issue, man. I'm just thinking, normally I'd grab an instrument, man, and sing. But what can I sing, man? Alright. Bear with me, man. Let me have a bit of water.
Take your time, we can edit anyway, so.
Nah, that's cool, man. It's alright. Alright. You ready? Oh my, my, ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away, hey, I wonder this time when she's gone. I wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away. I ain't sang in ages, bro.
Yeah!
Man.
Goosebumps! I swear I felt that.
Honestly, bro, I ain't sang in so long. But
bro, you're just still amazing as how I always hear your songs, man. You
thank
sing
you, bro,
live.
man. I appreciate it, man. Especially coming from you, man.
Nah, honestly.
Super talented singer yourself.
Bro, like, honestly, like, I am such a fan of your voice, your work. While you were singing, I had the stank face on, you know that
No.
So probably looking ugly on camera, but do you know what? It's worth it to hear your voice, bro. I can't wait for you to release your own records. Is that gonna happen anytime in the future?
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah,
100%. It's all part of the process, man. Everything is a process, and I tell that to everybody, man. Like, even when I was working towards getting to India, man, people used to say to me, "Oh, what you doing, man? Put some music out, boom, 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 boom." And I was like, look, it's all a process. Like, I have a plan, and I need to, if I quickly jump off, you know, or let anything knock me off my track that I'm on, or the direction that I'm in, then I won't reach the goal. So I stayed on it, stayed focused, and put my blinkers on, as they say, and took everything through one ear and out the other. And I just didn't watch what was going on, man. I was just focused to get to India, and I've been out there now for the last 3 years, built some incredible relationships out there, man. And now, now I'm set up and I'm comfortable there. Now I'm doing all my, my kind of features as a singer as well.
Right. And what can we expect from you? Have you got anything planned for next year? Obviously, we've got this COVID-19 happening, but if that goes away, you got releases. What's
loads of releases, man.
Yeah,
loads.
You can't
it's
say
crazy
yet,
because all the music that you guys hear or have heard, it's been music that I've done from like 3 years ago.
That's crazy.
So a lot of the music that's released is songs that I've done from like 2017 or 2018. And imagine when people are kind of catching up to that stuff. I've done a whole new catalogue of music that's just been kind of placed. Like, I have so much Bollywood music, Bollywood songs coming out, and they've been placed since 2018 and 2019, like ready to come out. They was meant to drop, but due to the pandemic and stuff, everything's just been on hold. But I've had the call saying that everything's back in motion again. Right. People are filming, so them tracks are coming out. Loads of singles, loads of massive collabs with big artists as a producer and as a feature artist as well, with me singing on it.
Well, I can't wait, and I know you got a ton of unreleased music, and I can't wait for you to invite me to your house so I can steal your laptop and take your songs.
Whenever you're ready, man.
So,
calm down, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime. I got time for you, man. You know that. That's why I took this interview on, man, because you're one artist that I feel that you deserve it. Like, you deserve, and if I was going to have an open conversation, the first thing I said to you is, if you want to have an open conversation, don't hesitate to ask me something, because a lot of people would probably hesitate to ask me certain things. I was like, look, if there's anything you want to ask me, you can ask me openly, and I'm going to have an open conversation with you because you're an artist, and you're someone who I rate, and I see great things happening for you.
Thank you so much, bro. And everything you just said has made me feel emotional. Honestly, it means a lot to me. I've been a fan of you since day one, and I can't wait.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I can't wait to see what you do next. And yeah, thanks again for doing this with me, bro.
Thanks for having me, man. Big up to you and big up to Britasia, man. Britasia's family, man. Everybody at Britasia, they support everything I do, man. The whole team at Britasia, man. They've always supported me, my brothers as well, man. Majorly, man. And anytime I have something releasing, man, or again, even like some people, when the artists from India are releasing and some people may not have the connect, I'm always like hollering Britasia, be like, yo, connect the dots, man. They want to send their music over because Britasia's family, man, it's home for us, man. And, they're doing amazing things for us, man, and holding it up for us, man. So big up Britasia and big up you, bro.
Well, thanks again, bro, for coming on Behind the Music.
Thank you for having me, man.
See you definitely soon, bro.
Thanks,
Take it easy, man. Let the people hear that voice.
Damn, when you hear that name.
It was a proud moment for the Asian culture.
I just looked in the mirror and I accepted myself.
Yes. Please, I beg you, cut it out.
Wait.